105.7 KPMX. 9:07 right now, and as I warned you, my friend Matt Fitzgibbons on the telephone with us. How you doing this morning, Matt?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks a lot for having me, Andy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Say hello to Kim Sellers over here to my left.
Good morning.
Hi, Kim. How you doing?
Doing excellent.
And, of course, to her left, Dorothy Unrein. And happy Constitution Day.
Thank you. Yeah, great day for us to remember.
How does a guy who writes songs and produces albums about our Constitution, who writes volumes about our constitutional rights and responsibilities, celebrate Constitution Day?
I usually end up reading a little bit more about history, trying to find some other little pieces of information that I didn't have. I just recently moved to a town in Connecticut, for example, where Roger Sherman is from, and he's a key historical figure because he signed all four of the documents and played a major role in the settling of all of the various 13 states agreeing on the Constitution with the Great Compromise between the Senate and the House. So it sounds kind of boring, but it's interesting because once you start looking into this stuff, you see how relevant it is today. And I don't know, I'm of the opinion that these simple, timeless principles that you can print out in less than 20 pages, the entire Constitution with all the amendments, they're just as applicable, and they're the solution for just about everything we complain about today.
Do you ever give talks to groups of people who then you can see the light go on and have them say, well, wait a minute, then this that we've been doing isn't constitutional, or then this isn't right, or this isn't right? Have you ever heard those aha moments?
I do. I get an awful lot of that. I get a lot of emails as well from people and comments and things, up on YouTube and some of the other social sites. My site, patriotmusic.com, I get responses from them. But it's interesting because in an election year, I've actually seen the kind of conversation, the topic about it change a bit. A lot of people are jaded, and yet on the other hand, a lot of people are fired up because those that you might associate with the Constitution movement, Ron Paul and things like this, they feel like they've been kind of left out. But I think they had a tremendous impact, on the Republican platform, and even the Democrats are, talking about the Constitution more and more. Neither party did, but they both are.
To me personally, if I can just interject, to me personally, this is where the Ron Pauls and the Rand Pauls, this is where the people like them are going to have their worth. This is where their worth is. And it's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be an impact. I don't believe they stand a Whistler's chance of getting elected. However, if they can start to turn the dialogue, if we as a people have the patience to listen to them, then I think we'll see change come, hopefully exponentially.
I would agree with you completely. I mean, go back to Constitution Day for a second and think about what was happening. Some of these colonies decided that they would sign it, but many others were very concerned about the potential encroachment of the federal government on individual and states' rights. And that's where the Bill of Rights came from, because so many, the anti-federalist movement refused to ratify the Constitution unless they had a Bill of Rights. And it took a couple of years, or actually a few years, to get it. But I would argue that if you go back and look in history and compare our various political philosophies today, both the Republican and Democratic parties today are essentially federalists. Mm-hmm. The anti-federalist movement is something that I would like to see happen in this country in order to remind everyone of these simple principles that worked for us for so long. The further we got away from them, the more troubles we created. Some expression, something like government has a problem for every solution.
Isn't it true? So who is the new anti-federalist movement? Is it the Tea Party, or is it I don't know, Independent Party? Who are the anti-federalists, and how do we get them to? Well,
I want to preface an answer to that by saying that my music is nonpartisan. I
Sure.
generally try to avoid individual political issues, but I would say that the answer is a grassroots movement. I don't know if it's a third party, if it's putting pressure on the Democrats or the Republicans. All I know is that pulling a lever once every 4 years really doesn't change a whole heck of a lot. I mean, we haven't had a constitutional amendment in this country since 1971. There's a little thing that happened in the 90s because one other state hadn't ratified it, and that was originally proposed as part of the Bill of Rights. It was I think, the 12th. But the bottom line is 71 is a long time for the American people to be actively involved, and we're supposed to be changing our form, the Constitution, ratifying it and doing it properly. Every generation should participate, and we haven't. So I don't think it's going to come from either party. I don't think it's going to come from the Tea Party. I think it's going to come from a grassroots movement of pressure, perhaps having a new constitutional convention with an open dialogue about what sorts of things we really, as a people, want. And some of those things, for example, would be term limits. There's a tremendous support for that, except in Congress. So there are things that people can do, but I don't necessarily think, it has to be tied with one party or another, or even a third party.
Matt Fitzgibbons is our guest this morning. We're talking about Constitution Day. Matt, do you derive any satisfaction in knowing that at least state constitutions are seeing more, amendments and more action and more input?
I do, but I think equally there are an awful lot of abrasion, I guess, between the states and the federal government.
Sure.
And this is an issue that we've got. At some point, on some issue, it's going to come to a head. But I have to, in other words, a state legalizing something and the federal government saying, no, this is something that we have the power to do something about. Eventually, there'll be some sort of a clash in some way, shape, or form. But I think it's important that people have some awareness of our history in order to think about what should be done when that situation happens. Because I think it's inevitable,
Yeah.
At some point in the near future, there's going to be a direct clash between states and the federal government. It'll be a legal thing. It won't be. I'm not talking about revolution.
No. But now when you say states, do you mean the states or a certain state or a core number of states?
The states, that's something that'll probably come down the line. But look at Obamacare, for example. A number of states individually, have threatened to sue or to not do this or not cooperate, but they haven't. They may have worked together collectively, but it isn't. They're not bringing these suits, for example, the way that we did right before the Civil War started. I have a lot of faith in our country. The Constitution does work, and we need to use the system the way it was intended in order to fix our problems. The further we get away from it, the more problems we have. And I think it was Winston Churchill that said something like, you can always count on America to do the right thing after she's exhausted everything else.
Yeah, that was an infinitely quotable fellow, wasn't it?
Guy's phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh, man. Matt, can you hang around for just a little bit? Because I want to play a song off your album, because I really want to push this album, if that's okay with you.
That's great.
The name of the album is Entitled. And real quick, set this up. I want to play The Rain's Coming, because that's the video that you have out now.
That's right. I just released a video about a week ago, actually. And The Rain's Coming is about, it's a symbolism forecasting a storm that's brewing in America. The big rift between the left, the right, or the Federalists, the Anti-Federalists. But, like storms, they can be positive and negative. And for me, it symbolizes my belief in a cycle of freedom and tyranny, just like our founding fathers did.
Beautiful stuff. With that set up, The Rain's Coming. Matt Fitzgibbons from the CD Entitled, ladies and gentlemen, on KPMX. Matt Fitzgibbons and The Rain's Coming, 105.7 KPMX. Matt, it's kind of a different sound for you with that, a very poppy kind of sound. Is that deliberate, or is that just an evolution?
I think it's just an evolution. There are 13 tracks off this album, and I would say I probably cover about 4 different genres on it, but there's got to be at least 4 songs that are in the same kind of a classification as The Rain's Coming. A bunch of them are getting radio plays, so out of 13, I'm up to about 11 now.
Nice.
So, I don't know. But on the other hand, it's also kind of hard to ask the artist, because usually, I'm the last person to ask about what genre something is.
Sure.
Because I've heard it a billion times,
13 tracks on the album. Is that deliberate, too?
It is, actually, to symbolize all of the individual colonies.
Very cool stuff. We're running out of time. I've got to get back to other stuff right now, but I cannot tell you how much I enjoy talking with you, Matt. I really appreciate you calling the studios.
Me too. It's always a great time, Andy.
When are you going to get out this way?
Sometime, I hope, in the near future. No immediate plans, but I definitely will.
All right. You've got other immediate, more pressing plans, I'm sure. But next time I see you, I hope, or when you get out this way, rather, bring that guitar, man.
It's definitely on my list.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care. Oh, wait. We can't let you go, Matt.
Okay.
Give us that website one more time.
PatriotMusic.com.
Just that easy. Matt, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Matt Fitzgibbons from Connecticut calling in, a very constitutional fellow calling in on Constitution Day, and a guy with whom I'm developing kind of a long distance friendship with. I hope to get together with him face to face one day soon as he travels throughout this great land. More coming up on KPMX. Taco Bell 21 is next.